Hey, VC here. So I didn't really want to post this video for a couple different reasons. One, my power meter kept kicking in and out, and so if the power is high, it's accurate. If it's low, it's not accurate. But also, I felt like I could have done more in this race. It's a practice crit. I should have put myself kind of in the fire a little more and attacked more and put myself in a bad situation. But the breakaway that we ended up making here is kind of neat. It's the perfect breakaway for me, and there's some cool stuff to talk about. So you know what? Let's post it. Whatever. So in front of me, two the main teams, Revs, and Fulton. Behind me, Revs guy. Okay, and so as we start to accelerate, he doesn't need to follow this at all. There's other guys behind him that can make that acceleration. So he's gonna just let us go, and this could be a break from the gun. And Revs and Fulton both would probably be happy. But then, not sure why Jamin, you're awesome, but I'm not sure why you decided to chase this, because your sprinter, Alex, is in this breakaway. That breakaway would have been great. But then you force Revs to chase you because they can't have 2-on-1. So I'm not really sure why Jamin wanted to chase that, because if you have a sprinter and he makes the break, man, you should just let that go. But it is a practice crit, so, I mean, we want to have fun. People here want to race, so not really that big of a deal. So I'm just going to surf wheels. And honestly, if I had a sprint on me, surfing wheels would be a good move. I don't have to have a team. Now, Alex here from Fulton, that's their main sprinter. He goes, he attacks, and I don't have to follow that at all because there's a Revs guy on the front. And there's no way he's going to just solo off when there's so many guys. Now, check this out. All these Rev guys start to go to the front. I don't know why Lance decides that this is the time to try to chase that move for Alex. You've got 3 or 4 other guys behind you that it's their obligation to chase that down, right? As Lance in that blue, he doesn't have teammates. He's solo. So there's no reason you need to chase that. I'm going to let the Revs guys make that chase, because 100% of the time they are going to come together as a team. They're going to chase that back because there's so much motivation for them to bring back a solo Fulton guy, right? So I'm just going to sit on wheels and get that ride. As soon as it slows down, you're going to start getting counterattacks, right? That's just kind of status quo on these type of races. As soon as it slows, you've got guys attacking from the back. Now right here, Alex is looking around, and 2 Revs guys just went off the front. And he knows that the guy in front of me is not going to chase, and I'm not going to chase. So it falls down onto the Fulton team to make that effort. Now Alex just had, I think he's done like 2 or attempted 2 breakaways. So he's waxed, he pulls off. Right there, Alex is like, dude, someone's got to help me. And his team comes to the rescue. And I can just sit on his wheel because it's his obligation, right? So again, starts to slow down. You start to get some more attacks, and I've got to pay attention because I want to try to be as far up as I can, because it'd be so easy for a couple Revs and a couple Fultons to get away, and then I have nobody to help me chase. I don't want to be in that situation at all. And basically, you're going to get attacks nonstop until a break goes. So right here, Fulton and Rev start to go, and I got to pay attention to this because right here's a Revs guy. He's not going to chase that, and so I can't hesitate at all. I have to just know the makeup of that front group and go, because that's a strong move. Those 2 guys could totally solo away, and they actually, I think, did the following week when I wasn't there. But you can't hesitate. He who hesitates masturbates. That's the saying. So don't. But you got to know, right? You got to know the makeup of who is there. And then I just need to go around that guy and not wait for him. As soon as it slows down, you get another attack from a solo, right, from the Big Orange team. Not many solo guys. I think there's me and maybe 2 or 3 other guys. The rest of the group was team-based, Revs or Fulton. But I know that I don't have to do anything here because there's too many guys, a whole Revs team and a whole Fulton team that are motivated to chase that. But so then we've had attack after attack after attack, and now is the time for me to expend energy because it's going to pay the greatest dividends. So I put a little effort in, try to get some people to go with me. Jamin does. Mark goes from Revs. And we actually split the group here, which is exactly what I wanted to do. But I hadn't spent any energy until the time was right. And so now you can see that my energy is actually paid off with a gap. And so the gap isn't 100%. Like, we're not guaranteed this is a move made. But I am going to not just noodle on the front and let everything come back together. I just spent some energy, so I'm going to keep spending a little bit of energy to try to solidify this move. But the move has 2 Fultons and 1 Revs. So I don't know if you can see in the back there, but another Revs guy actually bridges to the gap or to the break, which is super needed for Revs because right now it was 2 on 1 and 1 me. But then this is kind of where the perfect break starts to happen. We have 2 Fultons and then we have 2 Revs. I'm sandwiched in between them, but I don't have any obligation to pull or make this breakaway or push this breakaway, drive this breakaway. It's a perfect setup for me. Now, it's not 100% guaranteed yet, so I am going to slightly push the front just a little bit to ensure that we do, have this in the bag. But my pulls are going to be weak. They're going to be short because it is just not. I get a free ride, man. I have a free ride. There's 2 guys on the same team, 2 Revs, 2 Fultons. They're going to be the ones that have to drive this, and they're not going to let this come back together, right? They've worked a little bit too hard to make this perfect setup. So, awesome. So I'm sitting in my perfect breakaway, just hanging out, not really doing much. I do take one little more pull, but look, Jamin goes back and he starts talking to his teammate because they have their main sprinter trying to bridge, and he's caught in no man's land, which is the period between the break and the group, and you're just by yourself. And so at this point, I'm thinking, dude, the Fulton guys we just dropped the Fulton guys. I must be the strongest person in the world. But what they actually did was go back, 2 of them, Root and Jamin, went back to grab their sprinter, which they did, which is crazy. So they now have a perfect situation because they have 3 versus 2. But it actually has helped me a little bit because I don't have to do anything. You guys, it's just a battle of those 2 teams. Now, I do have to pay attention to opening up gaps because if I'm all the way back here, Alex can open up gaps and drop me off, right? So I have to kind of stay sort of in the middle. And you can see here where Revs lets one guy go off, right? It's not my obligation to chase that. There's 3 Fultons in this break, so I don't have to even stress. I don't even have to think about it at all. All I need to do is look at the blue jerseys. That's it. And I'm not going to pull through. I'm not going to come around. I do have to be careful, though, of attacks coming over the top and making that bridge, because then a Revs wouldn't chase, a Fulton wouldn't chase. So I just need to be really paying attention. My head's got to be on that swivel. Perfect example is right here where I just wasn't really paying attention. I was being greedy and just trying to sit on the very back. And so then Root starts to open that up because he doesn't need to close that down. He's got 2 versus 2. That's fine. He can totally drop me off. Now, I got to make sure that I don't get dropped off. And so I kind of have to get around him as quick as possible because if anyone started to attack in that front group right there, I could get into a bad situation really, really quick. And then it would just be all on me to try to bridge that, and then I'd be gassed. Right? So I have to stay sort of in the middle of these guys. I can't just sit on the back and get, super lazy. Now, in a normal race, if this was an actual race, I'd probably just sit in and do nothing at all ever because it's the perfect break. But I want to attack. I want to stress my system. So as soon as Mark is done with the pull, I attack. He made a big pull, and so if I'm going to spend any energy, I need to make it count. I can't just slowly roll off the front. I want to snap. I want to try to drop him. I want to try to maybe get 2 guys to go with me, 1 Revs, 1 Fulton, to better my overall chances for a finish. And it doesn't, right? I'm just not strong enough to break this up, and there's too many guys willing to keep this all together. And you can see that, I can't. They're not going to let me just hang out on the back. And so, again, I as soon as someone's done taking a pull, I try to snap and go as hard as I can to really maximize what energy I'm expending. If I'm making these attacks, they're kind of having to match like watt for watt, right? Which makes it a better move instead of me just slowly rolling off the front and them getting a draft. Again, just wasn't really strong enough to get a gap to open up at all, which was really demoralizing. It was really frustrating for that, but it is what it is. And that's kind of what prevented me from doing more of that. And I didn't want to post this video because I didn't do enough attacking. I think this right here is my last attack. Guy makes a big pull and I smash, hit about 1,000 watts. And I'm really trying to just attack constantly, not only because I want to stress that system of mine to attack and then sustain. And since this is a practice crit, it's good training. But then to try to get 2 guys to go with me to better my overall chances coming into the finish. But right here, Alex starts to drop off, and I just identify it immediately and just close that down. And then I don't really attack anymore for the rest of the race, and I am down on myself. Afterwards, I'm kind of bummed that I didn't. I should have, because it's a great opportunity, you know what I mean? If I drop myself, like, who cares? So right there, 2 revs goes off, and I don't have to close that. I'm going to force Fulton. And Jamin seemed to be like the workhorse of this race. He was really working for his teammates because there was many times where gaps would open up. I wouldn't close it. No one else would. And it forced Jamin to do that, right? This was a scolding attack, by the way, by the Revs guy, Mark. My eyes were bleeding right here. It was pretty difficult. Again, you can see here, Revs trying to get something to go. Trying to get away from the Fulton guys. And all I have to do is sit on... Don't look back at me, Jamin. Go. I'm not pulling through at all. Another reason that this is the perfect breakaway for me is that right here, when Mark starts to go, and he puts any bit of pressure down on the pedals, and if I feel at all uncomfortable, I'm just going to pull out of the line and be like, dude, there's 3 Fulton guys in here that can work. No, I don't need to work, right? Now, if I went all the way to the back, they might let that move go, so I kind of have to stay in the middle. But I think I did this to Jamin maybe 5 times. Again, right here, there's 3 guys on the front, but it's 2 Revs and 1 Fulton, right? And so Jamin is not going to let that go because then that's not a good makeup for his team. Again, there you go, Jamin. Take it. Close the gap, bro. It's your work. It's your obligation. Perfect breakaway for me. And since the position I'm in, I can really pay attention to who's attacking. Right here, Jamin snaps off and goes. And, I'm hoping that one of these moves is going to, kind of break this up a little bit to give a better chance coming into the finish for me. But everyone was just really motivated. Right there, Jeremiah Root is kind of on the wheel. He was feeling really good. And he won the race. And so coming right here after Jamin's attack, he goes and... Man, that's so perfect after, when your teammate attacks, as soon as he's done, you send another teammate off to attack. That's the ticket, man. Counterattacking, they were doing really well on that. Now, you can see right here, though, check this out. 2 of them dropped off. Their main sprinter, Alex, and then the other Revs guy dropped off. I didn't see this. Jamin did see this, though. So I really feel like... Dang, man. Jamin should have went to the front and pulled hard to try to separate that because then it's 2-on-1. I should have attacked. I should have done something. I just wasn't paying attention. But there's 2 guys dangling off the front. It's like, oh, my goodness. That was an opportunity to split 2 dudes off. Here, again, I think this is like the 5th time I've done this to Jamin. Sorry, dude, but I am not going to close that gap. Revs isn't going to close that gap. Your teammates are sitting in for the finish, right? And I think we're going into the last lap right now. And so the Revs, there's 2 to go. But so Revs makes one big last attack. Mark right here, dude, he's super strong. But I don't know why he followed this because he doesn't have to. It's me and a Revs. You have 3 Fultons behind you that it's their obligation to do that. Now, this is the last lap. going into the second to last turn. Revs goes up to try to give his teammate a lead out, and Jamin just starts going. He's going early, and I'm thinking, yes, dude, this is a good spot. If he carves the last turn, I'm gonna be in a pretty good spot to at least get top 3. I don't think I'll be able to out sprint anyone. But he goes here, and Björn, he almost eats it, man. He hits a pedal strike, right? So his right pedal hits the ground. It lifts up his rear wheel, and we were going 28 into that turn. So I mean, the way he saved that was super good. I kind of touched the brakes and sort of like got my head weird, and so then, you know, I tried to sprint. It just isn't gonna happen for me, man. A lot of those 3 guys in front of me are all solid sprinters. You know, so I don't know. If I had maybe a cleaner run going into the finish, I probably could have stayed ahead of at least one of them. I should have attacked more during this race. I did attack. I mean, I did initiate the breakaway, and I did attack 3 times, basically in like 2 laps. But I should have done more because it's a practice crit, you know. And I know the fields are small in this, so real racing coming up. I mean, I'm racing a ton, and I say real racing. I don't want to take anything away from this, but it is a practice crit. It's just local dudes, but it's so much fun. It's so much fun to race with guys that you know and you hang out with. It's just a good old time. So, guys, thank you so much. Vegan Cyclist. Yeah.